10 seconds.
I'm Bruce Apar, and you're watching Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog. Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog is brought to you by Chase Media Group, which you know as publisher of The Penny Saver, but also a multimedia provider of marketing solutions for what we call an omnichannel marketplace. And speaking of omnichannel, you can also catch Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog, all of our shows over the past few years, on YouTube, just by searching for Townlink TV. And what we do on the show is we bring you people of special interest who are doing all kinds of interesting things in the community and making unique contributions to our quality of life. And if you know somebody that you think should be on the show as our guest, or maybe it's even yourself, you could email me at info, that's not my name, but it's short for information, info, I-N-F-O, at chasemediagroup.com. So we have a show today that I'm really excited about, and you might say, in my punny way, it's of paramount importance. And we welcome Court Heitmann. Court, welcome.
Thank
who
you.
is the CEO of Red House Entertainment, which is now the operator of the Paramount Hudson Valley Theater.
Right.
And Court, that's one of the things I want to start off talking to you about. Is I appreciated right away when you took over the historic venue that happens to be based down the block from the studio in Peekskill, that the marketing focus was something clearly on your mind. And so it used to be called Paramount Center for the Arts. And the name Paramount Hudson Valley Theater, to me, really speaks to the fact that you want this to be a regional
Absolutely.
center for the arts.
Yeah, regional, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Center for the Arts. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, regional is very important. Hudson Valley is rich. Right. With culture, rich with history, rich with musicians, rich with food. I mean, it is really, you know, so you have to take advantage of that. I mean, you do, yeah. So.
And I guess I didn't fully realize at first, but you happen to be a native of Peekskill, is that right? Or you grew up in Peekskill?
Grew up in Peekskill, Lake Road, went to Furnace Woods Elementary School, then Blue Mountain Middle School. I transferred in 7th grade from Blue Mountain to Garrison Union Free School. But yeah, was born, my mother used to work a nurse at what used to be Peekskill Hospital, right? Now it's Hudson Valley Hospital. Right. So regional hospital, same thing, right? But I was born in Phelps Memorial, so. Right. So I grew up here, Lake Road, and just remember, you know, it's funny, you grow up at a time, it was different, you know, it was different in the 60s and 70s. Yep. There was a neighborhood, and I went from a neighborhood of where you could go out trick-or-treating and you come back with big, huge bags, and it was a lot of fun, to living in Garrison, which was, you know, dirt roads and woods. So a little culture shock there, but I've never left the Hudson Valley. Right. So love it here.
And so when you were living here as a young person, do you have any memories of going to the Paramount, which has been around, obviously?
My mom, I do. My mom brought me there a couple of times for movies. Those are the only memories I have. And then, of course, I brought my, well, not of course, but I brought my sons there to a couple of shows. WFUV was sponsoring some shows there, and I happened to be a marquee member, so I got some tickets to those shows. So
and you know, I mean, it has an incredibly rich history, and in fact, it is on the National Register, right, of
Yep, it is.
Historic places.
It is.
And it was run literally by Paramount Pictures, which is why it's called the Paramount.
Sure, Paramount Pictures ran it. Yep. Rap and Rap designed a theater, one of 105 that they designed in the late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
Of those 105, there's only around 40 left. And of the named Paramounts, because they did it for Lowe's, they did it for individuals, but Lowe's and the Paramount were the two biggest ones, those two families. And there's only 9 Paramounts left operating in the country.
In the country, wow. And of course, it's what used to be called a movie palace.
A movie palace, absolutely. In the Gilded Age of going to the movies, that was a big thing.
Right.
It was a destination.
I remember, on Broadway there were movie palaces.
Sure.
There was one actually called the Palace.
I mean, the most famous one is in New York, the Paramount in New York. Which is now a hotel and a convention center, no longer a
and there used to be one on Broadway, the Criterion. Which used to be
Criterion, absolutely.
Without getting too deeply into it, but I think it is interesting just to touch on how you and your group came to be the operators currently of the Paramount. It changed hands in May, right?
It changed hands in May from the city, when it was closed. It's an interesting story. I've always had my background was music, recording. My father was in the industry, so I was brought up as a music and a TV brat, I like to say. I've been in this industry my entire life, in the entertainment industry. And I've always had an idea that one day I would run a venue. I've told the story a couple of times. Bobby Hard, who is from Danes Lumber, does a lot of volunteer work at the theater. And I said, hey, how's things going there? I just happened to call him up. I was talking to him about probably baseball or some other, some other men are trying to get a door or a window, right? But Bobby said, dude, it's closed.
And so this was like a year ago.
This was literally last January, early January. It's closed, and I said, well, what's happening? And he says, I don't know. I think there's an RFP.
Request for proposal.
Request for proposal, right. Yeah, exactly. And I said, well, let's get me more information, and he did. He got in touch with the city for me. I got the link for the RFP. We had missed the initial cutoff date. But thankfully for us, and thankfully we hope the city is going to be very happy with us, that they accepted a late proposal. And it turned out, to make it short, to be the winning proposal. And we have a vision, I think that's what we really came in with a vision of what we wanted to do with it.
Right. And so you've been doing it now for 7 months, right, since May?
May 15th, May 15th we opened up, and had no time to get, on solid ground. We've been skating since we opened it up, so to speak. So with Metro Awards, community events. I mean, it was very important to get to into May, get it done by May, because there was a lot of folks were concerned about the Peekskill High School, middle school, Metro Awards. Those are to name a few that needed the theater in June.
Well, for graduations,
for graduations and school functions, and absolutely.
But I know, we just saw each other, and there were a lot of other people at the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber monthly breakfast, which was at the Paramount on the stage, which I love. I love that. I love all their breakfasts, but that one, everybody really has a great time, because although I do my own little stage performing locally, people said to me yesterday morning when we did that, oh, it's great being up here on the stage. Well, they don't get to do that.
You don't get to do that, right.
And it is a thrill.
It is a thrill. Yeah, I mean, you have your own show here, and I've been in television my entire life, so you kind of become numb to it all. It's not a big deal. But to folks, you forget that it is a big deal.
It is, as it should be.
Sure.
And I know you were mentioning, Court, a couple of the successes that you've had in the first few months, like you mentioned, Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? You had, what was it, 700 people?
Over 2 nights, we had almost 700 people, and
Right.
like I said yesterday, we're still cleaning up rice
Right.
and confetti. You know, those are one of the success stories. We've had
Right.
some failures, we've had some successes,
Right.
and you know, smart business. Well, you know, you have to look at that
Right.
and try not to repeat the failures.
Right.
So yeah.
And the seating capacity currently is what of the Paramount?
Well, it was 1,024 when we took it over in May. We put in 70 plus seats. It's now, well, not 70, 60 seats, so it's 1,084 right now.
Right.
So almost 1,100 with what we call flex seats. So we say it's an 1,100 seat theater.
Wait, when you say flex seats, can they come out or?
Flex seats are the handicapped areas,
Right, okay,
and
right.
some of the areas on the sides where there's some seating that you can do. We
Right.
would put what they call comps there. So
Right.
you know, folks that the artists come in, they want comp tickets.
Right, house
So,
seats.
House
yeah,
seats,
right,
correct.
Right, yeah. And so I would imagine, though, that you know, a venue that size, it's good to have, but it also presents challenges.
Sure.
Because you're always looking to fill up all of the seats. I mean, if you had your druthers, would you make any adjustments in the capacity, one way or the other?
Well, we've already, you know, what we've done,
You've
we
added,
did
yeah,
it.
right,
I mean,
right.
that
But I mean,
that
but
was our druthers. You know, we
Right.
pulled, the stage was too big.
Right.
The stage was they added, the thrust was way too big for our needs.
Right.
For the needs in the past, you know, it was probably good, but we are more interested in the seating capacity than a very large stage. So we cut back
Right.
the stage by 8 feet.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
you
realize
don't
that.
even know that exactly.
you're right. I
Yeah,
never
you
noticed
couldn't
it.
even
Yeah.
tell.
Right.
It's so big that you couldn't
It's a
tell.
huge
It's still a
stage,
huge
yes.
stage,
Right,
right?
right.
And two things that help the acoustics.
Right.
Okay, because these theaters are designed to project. They're old theaters. You know, and so it's you were there on stage,
Right.
and so you know you can hear everything.
Yes.
Way up top at the balcony, down on the stage.
Right.
You know, and so we brought it back so that it was more of acoustically friendly building, and we added the seats, and that's about all we're going to do down there.
Yeah, and what I was thinking of when I did ask that question about, you know, any, let's say, more dramatic change in the seating capacity, I do remember not long ago, somebody, it was before you came in, somebody was mentioning maybe sealing off the mezzanine, you know, for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe they felt that, you know, it would make it more intimate and they didn't need that many seats, so that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
I mean, we know that there were some crazy proposals, you know, literally take the whole roof off, add another level, put multi-millions of dollars into it, but what's the point?
Right.
You know, you're far enough away from the city where you're not going to attract that crowd, okay?
Right.
And that's not our goal. Our goal is the Hudson Valley.
So you mean like a Manhattan crowd?
Like a
Is that-
Manhattan
yeah,
crowd,
right,
exactly.
right.
And if you're going to make it a Capitol Theater and dump that money into it, I think it does the theater a disservice.
Right.
You know, this
Right.
is not just an event venue. This is a community theater.
Right.
And
Right.
to make it too big, you lose that community theater. And why would you mess with a 1930s historic landmark?
Right.
We do have some goals. The projection room is not used. We use it for spotlights. We would like to make that our little skybox, you know, with, let's call it a little, maybe you know, private rooms up there.
Right.
You know, so ultimately that might be really cool. Once the theater takes traction, you know, gets traction. We do want to improve upstairs in the gallery. There's some room for improvement there.
Yes,
Maybe putting
right.
another point of sale area there for beverage and concessions.
Right.
So those are the types of things. And ultimately, working with the city to fix the HVAC and the heating and electrical in there. It's
Right.
old. So
Yeah,
you know,
that's been sort of
maybe
a
making it a
bugaboo.
green theater would be really cool.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
be
with
really
solar
cool.
energy.
Absolutely,
right,
yeah, absolutely. But again, that's working with the city, and to their credit, they are willing to do so.
Right.
To look at proposals.
And I know we had been talking a little bit before going on the air that the city of Peekskill, which is the landlord.
Yes,
right,
they are
which
the
is, you know,
landlord.
has been very helpful, right? And you know, in
They've
the
been
first
really
several
great.
months, and trying to make things as tolerable for you to get started as possible.
Yeah, I mean, once we won the bid process and we were the accepted group, you know, we started to work more closely with the mayor and the council persons I never met the mayor before. I find her a very dynamic person, and she's very much was interested, and still is. I know she's the outgoing mayor, but
Right.
she is still very interested in the economic, development of downtown and the goodwill of the, community and the theater. I think so, and I think the council persons are as well, and so they've been very helpful in trying to get us. Our proposal was we need 6 months to even get our feet off, on the ground solid. So.
And of course, now there is a new mayor. It will be as of the new year.
Mr.
Mayor
Catalina.
Catalina. So hopefully he'll be equally supportive, of the venue going forward.
I did meet with Frank, and he indicated that he definitely wants to be supportive of us, and so we have not had a formal meeting. He's across the street from us,
Right. That's
so
right.
I run into him from time to time.
Right.
I gave him my congratulations, and like I said yesterday, be careful what you wish for.
That's right.
Because it can be a thankless job.
Oh, I know.
It really
absolutely,
can,
right.
and even running a theater can be a thankless job.
Yeah, and, it's funny you're saying that, Court, because I just the other day was reading something. I think it was a review of a book about presidential politics, and there was some famous quote from a president who was going through some hard times, and he actually said, "It could be worse. I could be a mayor." Because it's considered mayors have some, one of those difficult jobs of any elected official.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Right.
I mean, it's essentially a volunteer position.
Right, right.
And just like the board before us, there were a lot of volunteers. They did a lot of great things. There were some unfortunate events that happened, that led to its closing.
Right.
So.
And you also have some interesting bookings coming up. Well, for the holidays in particular, like we were talking about. Certainly a group of baby boomer like me remembers fondly New Riders.
New Riders, we're excited about that.
That's December 30th, right?
December 30th, New Riders of the Purple Sage, and they are still rocking. They are a fantastic band. And before that, tomorrow night,
NRBQ.
NRBQ. I know this won't be, but the Christmas tree lighting, December 7th happens, and then NRBQ and the Nighthawks happen. And we're one of our goals was to stay open for the Christmas holiday, to at least get some things going on. The Nutcracker, we have a rental for a private Nutcracker, which is a kid's Nutcracker. That's actually on a Monday night. So
is that the Colonial?
The Colonial is the one that's on Sunday.
Oh, that's the convention, sort of the standard.
The standard Nutcracker, and then there's a dance troupe, ballet troupe from Rockland County. They lost their theater. They're now over here. Right. And that was one of our goals in our proposal. Sure, because we said it's not about the music only. We want to keep it open from Tuesday through Sunday. Well, how do we do that? Corporate events, rentals, arts and entertainment, movies, live shows.
Right. Yeah. And we should mention that it is very available for corporate events, right? The Paramount.
Absolutely.
I mean, where would somebody? Is there an email that you could just give out? That
it's you can go to the
website.
You go to the website, but it's Jonathan is our COO, and he's dealing with all the rentals. So it's Jonathan at ParamountHudsonValley.com. Jona.
Jonathan Close.
Jonathan Close. JONATHAN. At ParamountHudsonValley.com. And corporate rentals are going to be a big part of our business.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
Sure.
And you were talking about students and, of course, catering, to the youth population, so to speak. And part of your management team, of course, is Abigail Adams.
Yeah, Abby.
Who's great.
She's great.
She is, and she's involved also with the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. And she was saying, I found this to be very exciting. Somebody who loves theater and is involved in theater myself, that you're trying to, next spring, bring a student program for the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival.
Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival in residence, working with students and communities. We just got, the Commissioner of Education just approved Paramount Hudson Valley Arts, which is our nonprofit arm.
The state commissioner?
State commissioner, because we're very education formatted in our nonprofit, so we made that very clear. And it went through, and they said, well, the commissioner has to sign off on this, and he did in November. So we've just formed it, and it's open now, and we're just starting to plan. We'll be closed for 3 weeks in January, and when we come out of there, we'll have a solid plan for the spring for the nonprofit, and so we're very excited about it.
And it's, I follow this, but we have our own community foundation that New York State under Governor Cuomo has really made major strides in trying to help nonprofits, right? And how they operate and doing fundraising. And
He has
things
put
like
a
that.
focus on it.
Yeah,
he's
right,
put a
yeah,
focus on
right.
it. He has a committee. We talked about committees, you
Right,
know.
yes, right.
I hope that something happens, you
Right.
know. I was watching news last night, and they actually talked about Governor Cuomo, and you know, they gave him, unfortunately, an incomplete grade, you know, and I disagree with that. I think it's very difficult. Another thankless job.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know, I think he's trying to get his feet on the ground.
Yes.
And I think that if he does half as much as his father did, probably
Right.
a very
No, and
good
he's,
thing.
you know, he's a very active or activist, you might say, governor. I mean, he has a lot
He
of
is very
initiatives, and
Yeah.
you know, he's well known for not being shy about pushing through his initiatives. Maybe not unlike President Lyndon Johnson was known for. You know,
Right,
he knows
right.
how to sort of get what he wants. Right.
Yeah. People say that about Governor Christie, right? I mean,
Right, yeah,
that's,
same
you
thing,
know,
right.
same thing.
Yeah.
You know, again, I think that, you know, one of the positives of being a for-profit Red House Entertainment and operating a theater is that you are a for-profit. You have a bottom line.
right.
You have to make this work.
Right.
And you have to run very lean to do so, and that's what we're doing right now.
Right.
We're very lean. We don't have a big committee.
Right.
You know, we will have a nonprofit board, which we have some founding members, and we'll be seeking other members. But we don't want it to be too big because, again, boards, you know, everyone on there is an individual, and they may have their own opinions of something, and that
Right.
can bog you down.
Yes,
You know,
right.
sometimes governing by committee is not always the best thing.
Right.
So as a for-profit, we have 4 people to make decisions.
Right.
You know, with Red House Entertainment. And I own another company, and I have 3 other partners called CP Communications, which is in this business, audio and video
Right.
entertainment. And it's 4 partners, and we can make very quick decisions.
Right.
And it really works.
So now, in terms of Red House Court, who are the other 3
Jonathan
principals?
Cloth is
Right.
my COO.
Right.
You mentioned Abigail Adams.
Adams,
She's our
right.
communications and PR director. And Ray Wilson is our creative director.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you were talking about, and we were talking about even before the show started, you know, booking acts, in many cases, very prominent names. And of course, you know, to the public, that's a very glamorous profession.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's a business, and you were talking about how, in order to make it work as a business and profitably, you have to be opportunistic.
You have to be opportunistic.
But, you know, and so going into 2014, some of the names you have announced, like Charlie Daniels, who, you know, is huge, a legend, and then another legend in her own right, Joan Rivers.
Sure.
Who, and I have to tell you, when I saw that, you know, I said to my wife, who was a big Joan Rivers fan, I said, Joan Rivers, you know, when was she ever in this area performing? So
Right.
that, and I know tickets just went on sale for that, right?
The pre-sale just went on yesterday or Wednesday. No, Thursday, I think yesterday. So pre-sale's up right now.
So I would imagine you have high hopes for her.
We do. That's another opportunistic, as you said, that was an opportunity. We're actually partnering with another producer on that.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's an outside producer, promoter who's come in. And again, that was an opportunity we saw to get some big names into downtown Peekskill to work with somebody who's looking for a venue.
Right.
So absolutely, you know, again, opportunity knocks. You gotta open the door and take it.
Right.
You know, so.
And again, in terms of talking about how you try things, not everything works, so you have to keep tweaking and fine tuning it. Right. So one example of that you were mentioning is you tried Thursday night movies, I believe, was it? And that didn't go as well as you had hoped, and so you're going to switch to Sunday now, right?
You know, again, we really had no expectations on Thursday night.
Right.
We wanted to have another open date. We weren't going to do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday, just 2 in the middle of the week for us, and Wednesday is really our day where we're getting ready for the weekend, where we're looking at our shows, where we're doing our rundowns, where we're looking at the crewing and the technical aspects of the weekend shows, and that's really on a Wednesday. Could we hold a movie Wednesday night? Sure, but we felt that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, let's get the 4 days, in a row. So we did Thursday.
Right.
We've had everything from 4 people to 100 on a Thursday.
Right.
And Thursday and Friday nights are really what we're gonna sort of figure out what to do with.
Right.
We now know that Saturday is definitely the best night for an event.
Sure.
Live event music. Sundays, we think that we think, and we're going to try this, that the Thursday shows will do better on Sunday, the Thursday movies.
Right.
Okay. And the movies that we're talking about are not necessarily, old Clark Gable reruns, but when we say movies, we use an organization called Spectacast, and it is basically a server, and what we do is we get opera or cinematic treasures from around the world, or from around the United States. We'd love to have the Met, but unfortunately we're within an area that people are already showing the Met, other theaters, so that's not available to us.
Right.
So Sunday afternoon, come see an operatic event at the theater.
Right. So. And I know, by the way, speaking of that same type of presentation, we're members of Jacob Burns Film Center, and they do things with Shakespeare from Great Britain. They'll show Shakespeare performances.
Thing. Exactly the same thing. That's what we're doing, and also and Spectacast also have live movies. They call them live movies, but really it's the Rolling Stones movie. Okay, which is live music movie. Right. We had Jimi Hendrix, we had the Rolling Stones, we had a couple of more that I don't remember. Those actually did fairly well. Jimi Hendrix did really, really well. It was his premiere. And we've done some really cool premieres, too. We had the Trials of Muhammad Ali, which we had hoped a lot more people would show up. We may redo that in Black History Month.
Right.
Okay, makes sense.
February.
Which is coming up in February. So we'll probably rerun that in Black History Month as part of a production of events.
And you were also mentioning, again, as an estimable success that you've enjoyed with the audience turnout, the I think Mary of Nazareth film.
Mary of Nazareth, which was a fundraiser for the Assumption Church, and 800 people.
Yeah, wow, that's
fantastic.
That's
it's a holiday event. We decorated the theater, so people enjoyed themselves. We're very happy. Again, 800 people downtown. That's our goal. You know, to bring people downtown.
And you mentioned, speaking of that, in the aggregate. Since May, that you believe, or you have reason to believe, that 15,000 people.
Oh, those are accurate numbers.
That Paramount has generated.
They are accurate numbers.
So how do you reach that?
Well, we look at our ticket sales.
Right.
Basically, we look at the attendance. It's really based on attendance of every event that we've had.
So you just add up the.
Add them up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
From all the events. Okay, so you were part of that. Yesterday at your breakfast.
Right.
Okay, that's an attendance. That's a person that's here in downtown that would not otherwise be here.
But that's what I meant when I asked how do you figure that, was how do you know that necessarily they wouldn't be? I mean, is that just an assumption, I guess?
I guess it's an assumption. No, I guess you're right there. It's an assumption that they wouldn't be downtown. I mean, certainly Mary of Nazareth and 800 people, they would not be downtown. Okay?
Right.
And on the other events we've had. Listen, if you bring a corporate event in and you bring 100 people in, they're probably not downtown on that day.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And speaking of that, that would speak to the opportunity for restaurants in the area, especially incremental business, which they're always looking for. So have you had any discussions with those restaurateurs?
We did. Pete Seeger and the coffee house across the street said it was his busiest day in the history of the coffee house. So that we've had some good positive feedback. We had a meeting with the bid and the restaurants, and we asked their suggestions, and again, a lot of opinions come out of that. But our ultimate goal is to work with the restaurants from the river on up, and promote them and have them promote us. And, we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Listen, if I have a theater, I have to have a place for people to come before or after.
Yeah, right. That's right. Exactly. So, and by the way, that's one of the distinct advantages here with the location of the theater and the restaurants. Very walkable, right? I mean,
free parking.
Right. Free
parking. It's a big thing. A lot and plenty of it.
Right.
So come in, park, walk around the town, and then see a show, and then have an after dinner drink.
Right. Yeah. Something. It's no joke, but in certain cases, tickets to your shows are less than it costs to park in Manhattan, right?
Absolutely. In every case.
In every case.
In every case.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Cord, it's been great to have you, and we're looking forward to 2014 and all the great things at the Paramount. We'll have you back on again so we can get an update.
Another update, sure.
But good luck.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure we'll be seeing you there at the theater. And
Just come on down.
yeah.
We need people in seats. We need people to support community theater and the arts. And if they do that, then the theater will survive and downtown will grow. You know?
Right.
So
That's great. And we want to thank Court Heitmann, who is the CEO of Red House Entertainment and the Paramount Hudson Valley Theater, for being our guest. You've been watching Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog. And remember, when Bruce the Blog listens, people talk. Thanks.